I'm Eric Parker. Coming up this morning on CT22. State legislators get to work as the 2022 session opens. How many of the governor's executive orders will be extended? We're digging into that with leaders from both parties. And is your favorite local restaurant struggling to stay open as the pandemic drags on? Owners are asking for more help from the federal government. We're getting a reality check on how these businesses are doing. And in our Sunday Spotlight, coyotes. They seem to be everywhere these days. We're speaking with the state biologist about their habits and asking how concerned we should be about our pets when we take them outside. It's all ahead this Sunday, February 13th. CT22 starts right now.
From WFSB, this is CT22 with Eric Parker, sponsored by Hartford Healthcare.
Good morning. Shortly after noon on Wednesday, this year's legislative session opened. The first order of business, the governor's emergency orders, which are set to expire Tuesday. By late Thursday night, the House had passed all 11 of them. Now it will be the Senate's turn. Here to talk about the emergency orders and other legislation that'll be taking up in the coming days are Senator Paul Formica, Republican leader from the 20th District, and Representative Matt Ritter, the Speaker of the House from the 1st District. Thank you both. Mr. Speaker, I'll start with you. Representative D'Agostino, who brought these COVID bills forward in the House, said, Pat, they are a pathway for responding to COVID to living with COVID. So it's a transition. Is that how your caucus sees it?
Yeah, and thanks for having me today. And it's nice to be with Senator Formica as well. It is, right? We're not in March of 2020. We have vaccines. We have therapeutics. We know a lot more about what we can do to keep ourselves safe and keep hospitalizations and positivity down. And the rates are improving every single day. But we're also not in March of 2019. We still lost 136 people from COVID in the past week. We still have over 600 people in the hospital or so with COVID. So we're trying to find that balance. We're extending some things for 60 days, and we think that's the right balance.
I want to get to Senator Formica in just a moment, but I'm going to stick with you, Mr. Speaker. Tell people what this means. I know there was a core group of executive orders. Just in reality, how are our everyday lives going to move forward from here on out? Can you give us a couple of the high points?
Yeah, I don't think most people will see it. A lot of it has to do more with what happens, for example, in nursing homes and requiring booster shots for workers. There's some procurement issues that can be done by the governor more quickly than normal to get tests. Obviously, the most emotional issue was the masks in school. And on February 28th, unless a local board of education institutes a mask mandate, masks will come off kids. And so that will probably be what people see most, immediately is February 28th.
Senator Formica, I know it hasn't come to your chamber yet. It will early tomorrow. It'll be there and we'll be having a vote on it. But from what you heard from your Republican colleagues in the House, there were some concerns about masking, about extending the emergency. How do Republicans see what happened?
Well, we understand the severity of the pandemic and, all along we know what we have to do to take steps to get better. But, we feel that we're in a position where life is moving forward. We think that masks should be up to the local control of the regional and Board of Education districts in everybody's town. And we think that they're, prepared enough to handle that. And, we'd like to see that. As far as the extension of orders, it's been time and time again. Life pretty much is back to normal out in the public, away from the Capitol. And we think, there's no real reason to extend the executive orders. And I think the main reason was some money for benefits that is going to come through to us. And we think there are other ways to approach that.
Well, that's one thing. Certainly Democrats said Senator Formica was at $30 million a month by extending this order. They thought that was one good reason to do it. Does your caucus see it differently?
Well, is there a true emergency that causes us to go on and keep collecting that money? People are going out to see basketball games at UConn. You see stadiums filled all over the country, and masks are not that prevalent. It's an important and dangerous situation, and people have to take steps. I'm vaccinated. Most of the guys I serve with and gals are vaccinated, and we believe in that. But the fact of the matter is, extending the orders just to collect money, seems a bit disingenuous. If we need the emergency order, we should have an emergency order. But this order moving forward allows masks to almost the 1st of July. And we believe that that's just way too much.
Speaker Ritter, one of the things in your chamber, Representative Candelora, the Republican leader, said it was just the wrong message to send, saying that there was an emergency. Do you have some thoughts about that and whether it was necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I love Paul, but I don't agree with a lot of what he said. Number one, the bill we passed is a local option. So perhaps the Senate Republicans should make sure they read the language. That's exactly what we did as of February 28th. It is up to local school boards and regional school districts. The second thing is we did not declare an emergency solely to take advantage of SNAP benefits. Although it is $32 million a year to some of the poorest people in Connecticut, who, by the way, live in everyone's towns. You should see the map. It's pretty amazing how many people live in Eastern Connecticut who are SNAP beneficiaries. We did this because there are still a need to have some protection in place for the coming months. We're no different than our neighboring states in that regard. Yes, we are beginning to wind down what we need to do. And we may not be able to say to the federal government or any other state, may be able to say to the federal government in April or May, there's an emergency. But I will remind you, we still have 5% positivity in 600 people. We're winding down, we're recalibrating, but we're not doing it solely for SNAP benefits. There's important stuff in there. A booster shot for healthcare workers is a critical thing that we're doing as part of this package, for example. Why? Because they care for some of our most elderly citizens who are the ones who are most impacted by the deaths of COVID. The reality is this: the bill we're voting on was supported by the vast majority of Republicans a month ago. It's exactly what they called for. What happened is the most right-wing members of their party came to the Capitol and wrote awful emails, horrible emails, threatening to kill people. And I have them if you want to see them, saying all kinds of nasty things. And they catered to that right-wing element of their party because what we're doing is exactly what they asked for. And it's unfortunate because in the old days, this would have been a bipartisan bill. So to me, most Connecticut residents are happy that we've kept people safe. They do want to see us move in a direction, and we are, and yet you still see no votes. I want to point out the House chaplain, Erica Thompson, who is a reverend at the Asylum Hill Congregational Church in Hartford, while walking in on Wednesday, was spit at and called a four-letter word and a traitor by these protesters. She took her mask off and said, "I am actually the chaplain of the House and a person of God." That's how low we've gotten.
Well, certainly concerning to hear that happen. To clarify at the beginning, though, Mr. Speaker, there is the ability in that bill for the Department of Ed and Department of Public Health to reinstitute masks on a statewide level, but obviously the local control is anticipated for February 28th. Senator Formica, let me turn to you. This bill now goes to your chamber. What do you expect to happen on Monday when it gets there?
Well, we hope to have good discussion about it. I appreciate the speaker too. We're good friends, but the Republican Party is not represented by a group of protesters. And, we each have factions in our parties that are extreme. And, what we're talking about is a moderate and level way to deal with the situation. This bill does contain opportunities for commissioners under the governor's control to extend the mask mandate through July 1. We're going to have to talk about that. We don't think that that's there. We were happy with February 28th. We think that that can make some sense as long as there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So there'll be some discussion, there'll be some yes votes, there'll be some no votes, but there should be good, positive discussions about what we're doing together to go forward to do what's best for the state of Connecticut and not really talk about it. And no one should be spit at, no matter whether they're part of a party or not. That's just not the way we should be doing business.
All right. State Senator Paul Formica, Speaker of the House, Matt Ritter. Obviously, once you get past these COVID votes, then there's the rest of legislating to do. So we'll have probably both of you back here on the program to talk about that moving forward. And of course, we'll be watching what happens in the Senate tomorrow. Thank you both for being with us here on CT22.